to some news that is breaking this morning. Ross Dellinger from Yahoo reports the college football playoff executives, which is the commissioners of the various leagues, are prepared to adopt a straight seeding model for the 2025 college football playoff. According to Ross, there will be some financial considerations given, presumably to the leagues that would have gotten a top 4 seed that might not be getting a top 4 seed now because the seeding will be different. And it's just proof once again that while you can't solve every problem with money, you can solve some problems with money. And this problem seems to have been solved with money. They're expected to approve it in a call on Thursday. Straight seeding for the college football playoff. And we have the graphic on screen because we talked about this the other day of what the college football playoff would have looked like had it been seeded straight last year. So your 1, 2, 3, 4 seeds would have been Oregon number 1, Georgia number 2. Those were the same. Number 3 was Boise State. Number 3 would have been Texas. Number 4 was Arizona State. Number 4 would have been Penn State had it been seeded straight.
Everybody's happier except Penn State in this scenario, right?
Like, no, we were good with the old one. Please go back.
5 seed is always like the 5 seed was the golden ticket.
They were the 6. They were 6 and got the
seed. Oh, yeah. The reason why the 6 seed got it because last year they put Boise in. I got it, but this looks better. Does anybody disagree with that?
Well, and it's the first round games to me. And look, they're going to be first round blowouts. I'm sure of that. Like, doesn't matter how you seed it, how you do it. There will always be situations where you get blowouts in every round. But the first round matchups, which were not competitive at all last year, like Indiana, Boise State looks like I think that would have been a pretty competitive game. Tennessee, SMU, I think would have been a very competitive game. Ohio State, Arizona State, you could say, Ohio State would have rolled over them like they did everybody, but Arizona State played Texas to overtime. Like, there's no guarantee that would have been easy for Ohio State. And then Notre Dame, Clemson, I think that would have been a decent game. Clemson loses to Texas because of some defensive issues it had. It might have been that Notre Dame just ran all over Clemson's defense, maybe, but it would have been fun. Would have been good to see.
The thing that is best about this matchup bracket, sorry, not matchup, is that the teams who actually earned it on the field in the regular season actually have a more advantageous path in most cases. Like, I look at Oregon, like Oregon's the one. If anybody is upset or should be upset about last year's seeding, it's Oregon.
Yeah.
Because they ended up being in a position where they had to play a team that was much better than their seed right out of the gate. Whereas here I see a path to the semis pretty easily, and maybe the national title game, depending on the bottom half of that bracket. But
yeah, you don't get rewarded for losing the conference championship game. Like in the Big Ten situation, because we talked about this the other day when we were doing your projected bracket, and you're saying you think Penn State might win the Big Ten this year. In the projected bracket, which you did using the old seeding rules. And by the way, thank you for doing this. So when I do mine next week, it looks like we actually thought about this and did one the old way and one the new way. So, but you were worried. You were like, oh no, I think Penn State may get punished for winning the Big Ten if they win the Big Ten. Well, that's exactly what happened. Oregon got punished for winning the Big Ten championship game. Penn State got rewarded for losing it. And that was the biggest gripe anybody had about the seeding process.
Right. Yeah. And like, that's the thing too. If you look at some of these games here, all the teams that had to fight tooth and nail to get in have a chance at a winnable first round game. Like SMU, I think probably has a better chance at potentially beating Tennessee than they would have. I don't know. That's a similar game. Tennessee was really good last year. We don't want to rewrite history. But then you have Boise, Indiana.
But would you rather have gone to Neyland Stadium in round 1 or Beaver Stadium in round 1? I would have rather played Tennessee than Penn State if I'm SMU.
Yeah. Both places are rowdy environments. But I think that Tennessee was not as good as Penn State last year. But even though the 8-9 game is better, and the 5-12 game might have been better too. So here's the question the thing that needs to be said that will continue to be true is when these conferences are so big that not everybody's playing each other or somebody has a bad game, you will continue to have a elite level Ohio State-ish like team from last year in the 8 or 9 spot. And when that happens, there's no way to avoid what is equitable. Like if Ohio State drops an extra game or somebody gets injured or they have an extra loss, there will be a Georgia, Alabama, somebody at the 9 seed who got off to a tough start, but actually is really, really good. And it's not going to look this clean. Like, I feel like straight seeding is necessary because at the end of the year, like Ohio State was 6, but were they really 6 last year? Like Texas would be screwed in this scenario because they will have to play the Ohio State team.
Right. Let's say Ohio State, and I think we agree, the way Ohio State was playing, it probably wouldn't have mattered where you'd seeded them. They're probably winning their way through this thing. But
you also have to take into account that when the seeding occurred, the last time we saw Ohio State play was the Michigan.
Oh, yeah.
So we didn't know what they were yet. But there will be teams that even in the straight seeding will be playing again. Like Texas has a harder path in this bracket than Penn State. Like there's no way to ever stop everybody from having or stop.
Right. It's never going to be absolutely perfect.
And I don't know, does that happen in the NFL or not? They're more evenly matched.
Well, the NFL is interesting because, and it's interesting that this comes up now because the NFL just, I believe, tabled a proposal, or no, the Lions withdrew the proposal because the NFL does it where if you win your division, you get a home game. Even if there's a wild card team from another division that had a better record than you get a home game because you won your division. What the Lions had proposed is reseeding after the first round. So you give those teams the home game, but then you reseed based on just regular season record. But they pulled that proposal. But I think it's different in the NFL, Ari, because obviously the teams are more equal. Team 32 and Team 1 are really not that far apart in the grand scheme. In college football, it's pretty different. Like teams 1, well, it's becoming flatter, but teams 1 through 8 probably fairly different than teams 9 through 16.
Right. This is the most rational way to do it, but there's no foolproof way to do it in college football without somebody doing something. Especially when you have 10 in the years where there's a conference that has 5 elite level teams. Like it's not going to be seeded 1 through 5. You're going to have a Georgia at 9 one year, and that 9 seed is going to have to play the 1 seed in the second round, and the 1 seed is going to be like, what the hell? But last year was certainly bad because the 1 seed not only had to play Ohio State, it had to watch the team that it beat in the Big Ten championship game walk into the semis, which is like the worst part about it. And the one thing that I think that we need to address, and if you want to accuse me of being a power homer, that's fine. I don't think that we can continue to put group of 5 teams into the top 4 seeds. Like, I just don't think we can do it. They're not.
You mean as a choice, because that would have to be a choice at this point. Boise State would have been number 9 last year.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I think Boise being what were they, 4 or 3 last year? I can't remember. They were 4.
3.
Were they 3?
That's the rule they're changing, Ari. They won't be doing that anymore.
It can't happen.
Well, it can if the committee members think that team is the 3rd or 4th best team.
Which won't happen because Boise didn't get a lot of favor in the rankings week to week last year.
Right. Boise was number 9 in the final ranking. So
now that we're straight seeding it, Boise can't be number 3 and fuck up the whole thing. Sorry, mess up the whole thing.
Well, unless the committee members think Boise State is the 3rd best team.
Then they'll be worthy in those years. But let's be honest, that's probably not going to happen. It wouldn't have happened. They were as good as they could have possibly been last year, and they would have been 9.
It's Cincinnati 2021. That one, and no, Cincinnati's obviously in the Big 12 now, but they weren't then. They were in the American. They finished number 4. That would be your example.
And that Cincinnati team was legitimately number 4.
Was really good. Yes.
Yeah.
Had beat Notre Dame, had gone undefeated. Like they were very good.
Yeah, and I don't just mean like Boise as a program. I'm saying a group of 5 team getting in to the higher echelon because it's the highest ranked Group of 5
Right.
team.
And because their schedules are very different than the schedules that the teams in the other 4 leagues
are different, and their roster talent accumulation is different. And like, I don't need to explain it to everybody. They get it. But like, I think if you do that and you put the ACC champ at 12 or whatever, then you are putting yourself in a position to create those inequitable paths to the semis.
Now, the ACC champ would have been 12 last year because Clemson was a 3-loss team that won its way in.
Yeah.
Because Miami lost to Syracuse. Clemson got in the ACC championship game. Clemson beat SMU. So it will, there may be situations where the Big 12 or the ACC champ is number 12. That can happen. So
yeah. And like, you're okay. And you're obviously okay with the Big 12 champ not getting the bye, because then Arizona State doesn't get to the second round and they have to play Ohio State in the first round. Which
Arizona State gets a bad draw here, but like, what if Arizona State's 1 spot higher and they're playing Tennessee? I like Arizona State's chances against Tennessee if they come out playing the way they did against Texas.
Yeah, I actually think that you could make the case, and I don't know if you're with me on this, that straight seeding it actually makes the margins more important, because last year we weren't debating whether or not Indiana should have been 9, 10, or 11 or 8.
Mm-hmm.
We're like, are they in or not? But now when you get to a point where your actual seed plays a factor.
Well, and it's just the matchup. Like, it's not even the seed itself, but the matchup itself, because like, again, 11-6 Arizona State, Ohio State. If the committee's like, Ohio State after losing to Michigan, we're going to put them at 7 and put Tennessee at 6. I don't know that anybody would have argued with that. We might have, because they beat Penn State in the regular season, and we were like, where did we have Ohio State?
5.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, we had them 5, and people were like, "You guys are idiots. Why would you do that?" And our thing was they beat Penn State on the road. Like, does that not matter? And
we did it based on the previous model, not on the current model.
Right.
The thing that'll be interesting about the straight seeding, Andy, is whether or not they're going to continue to treat conference championship game losers with favor the way they did last year.
Well, and it's just, and honestly, I don't know that even matters, because it's just this year. Like, I think there's a chance conference championship games are going the way of the dodo after this year. Like, this is a stopgap right here. We already know they're going to something else. We already know they're going to something bigger. First it was 14, now it's 16. Whether they keep conference championship games or not is an open question right now.
What do you think they did to Brett Yormark?
Paid him. Not him, but the Big 12.
No, there's some weird, like, backdoor. What if there was a bag man?
Like, we're bringing back the bag man just for that. No, I don't think that happened. But I do think probably there were, as Ross reported, there's some financial concessions. I'd be curious to know what they are. But this was not a super high leverage situation for anybody, because yes, the Big Ten and the SEC are taking everything over and are going to really be kind of in charge in 2026, but they needed the votes from all the other conferences this year. The other conferences had some leverage because they needed those votes, but it's just 1 year. The Big Ten and the SEC probably could have lived with it. So I'm guessing it's a modest sum of money that is going to the leagues that now may not get a higher seed than they would have.
Yeah. Good though. Good.
Yes. Good. I'll take it. And as someone who has to do a projected college football playoff bracket for 2025 for next week, I'm thrilled because mine gets to look completely different from ours, no matter what.
I think that your teams might have been different anyway, but I'm going to redo mine. That's a layup, and we'll see if we'll see if the postseason. We'll see if the bracket turns out similar. That's, because the matchup.
Yeah, I mean, we got to reshuffle yours. Can we reshuffle yours now? Can we try it?
We can try it, but like, I'm not good at this stuff. It's hard.
Okay, who are your 3 and your 4?
But I think I have the actual rankings on my computer. So why don't you sing a song while I go try to find it?
Okay.
These eyes.
La-da-da. These eyes have seen a lot of love, but they never know. Okay. Well, Penn State's your 2, Texas is your 1, Clemson's your 3, and BYU's your 4. So BYU, you're probably moving. I don't know if you're moving Clemson. Like, you tell me.
I don't have it, so we're gonna have to redo it. Sorry. My toxic trade is the leading word.
You know, it's on the internet, right?
Yeah, it's on the internet, but like
you type in Ari Wasserman on3, the first thing that comes up is a list of your articles. And you can click on
know. We have the bracket. I don't want to have to try to figure out where everybody.
Oh, your actual rankings. I got you. You're pure.
That's what I
you're
did.
Pure
my
C line rankings.
Was I made my 1 through 12 first, and then I put the bracket.
Yeah.
Together.
Well,
after the schedule analysis,
I think the question that you would be asking, because I'd be curious what your final ranking said about Clemson is, did you think they were the third best team, or did you have them like number 6 or number 7, but move them up because of the rules?
I think I had them 6 or 7 and moved them up because of the rules.
Okay, so yeah, it would look very different, and good. I can't wait to see it. You're right. That is a layup. Easy story. People will get mad, but not as mad as they did about Nebraska.
I'm excited to reorganize the bracket. And let's not do it now. Let's do it next week and talk about it on the show. But to see if my projections and like, this is all like we were talking about, this is difficult. I don't know, but like if my bracket will be different and like all of a sudden the person or the team that makes the title games is different. Like I'm still going to pick Texas to win everything, but I don't know like if you have different matchups in the first round and stuff, if it comes out differently.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to debate, fun to speculate, and I think it's going to make this year's college football playoff quite a bit easier to explain to people, because I felt like that was the hardest thing, because you had people coming in who don't really follow the sport all year round as the playoff was approaching, and you had to reset it every time. Like, okay, now this is why this team is number 3 and this team is number 4, even though it kind of doesn't make sense. Now it's going to make sense. So thank you, commissioners, for doing that. Thank you for solving a small problem with money, and away we go.